Welcome to The Whole Elephant, Season 3. Kicking off Season 3. If you've been part of this journey for the whole time with me, thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time, because you enjoy my guest today, welcome. It's called The Whole Elephant, based on the poem The Blind Man and the Elephant, where 6 blind men are asked to describe an elephant, and they all just describe him based off of the first thing they grab. So our journey here, our goal here, is to try to see the world through different perspectives. And just to come clean off the top, my perspective, I was born in Southern California. I'm a white guy. I played sports, and then I got into ministry. I'm a full-time worship pastor at Montrose Church in Montrose, California. And that's my perspective, and I want to hear different perspectives on different people's careers, stuff we may not see or understand about what people are doing every day, and then also people's understanding of faith and God and spirituality, whatever religion or background they might come from. Our goal here is just to have open and honest conversations about those things and to find out what we can learn. Today, we're starting off with a great guest to kick off Season 3. I'm so excited and so happy that he agreed to do this. Michael Orland is a musician and a producer. For 16 seasons, he was the vocal and musical producer for American Idol, a show we all have probably watched and love or hate, however your perspective is on American Idol. But a show that maybe we don't know behind the scenes what happens week to week, and he had some really interesting stories and stuff to tell us. So sit back and relax, and I hope you enjoyed the chat. Hey, Michael, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so happy to officially meet you.
Yeah, here we are. Thank you for doing this. Welcome to The Whole Elephant. It's good to have
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. It's nice to be here, Eric.
We have our mutual friend Barbara Deutsch, who has also been on this podcast before,
Well,
and
we
I
love the Barbie
appreciate.
George.
Yeah, she is amazing, and I appreciate her setting us up to do this.
Yeah,
What is your life like right now? We are almost out of like COVID times, but what
I
have
know
what have
it's
you been up
it.
to lately?
Well, I'll tell you. So I make my living as a pianist and a coach, and I was doing a lot of traveling before March of 2020, and all over the place. As a matter of fact, I had just done a show. I had done a show on March 8th in Palm Springs, and then I got on a plane on the 9th and flew to meet a dear friend of mine, Kristen Chenoweth, who's an amazing singer and
Yeah,
actress. And I went and met her in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we had a concert there. We came home on the next day, and then everything shut down within days. It was
then it was done.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so I had literally not been. I just met her in Nashville a couple weeks ago for she's working on a project there, and up until then I had not been near an airport on an airplane, nothing. And it's like literally I go on a couple flights a week normally, and
Yeah.
I that was my first time. It was so wild, but
Does it feel like normalcy is coming back for you a little bit?
yeah, I mean, it kind of does. I mean, now that we're like getting vaccinated and we feel like we can be a little bit, I can do my vocal coaching in person now if everyone feels safe and whatever. And I still keep my mask on when people come over, but most of my stuff is on Zoom and on
Sure.
FaceTime. But
Yeah.
it's not easy for what I do. It's it's with the lag time and stuff, it just takes away from what we do. So, but
Totally.
we've made it work, and whatever, and thank God for it.
Yeah. No, see, you have a really good pre-COVID story. Oh, it's with Christian Chenoweth and we were doing a concert. Like that's a
Well,
really
kind
good
of,
one.
it
Mine,
was
I
kind
have
of
a
fun.
I have a 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So the day before everyone shut down, everything shut down, I was in the worst place you could possibly be in terms of germs. I took my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese the day
Oh
before
my God,
the day before the pandemic.
that is
That's
definitely the worst place. Oh my God,
oh.
I just like feel like I have to get some hand sanitizer right now. Just
That is the worst. Well, I appreciate you being here. Let's talk about music. When did music become a thing for you? Is that early on in your life?
yeah, so the story goes, as my mother and father tell me. I went and saw the movie Mary Poppins when I was a kid, and
Mm,
I loved it. And I literally was like, my mother took me once, my father took me, each of my grandmothers took me, my aunt and uncle were like going, let's go out and do something. I was like, I want to go see Mary Poppins. I went to see that movie like 10 times, and I came home and sat at my family piano much like the one I'm sitting at now, and started playing the songs like by ear. And so my
Mm.
mother took me to my piano teacher, who was such a mentor to me. You know, I didn't appreciate it until I really grew up and whatever, and saw what she did with me. But I went to see her when I was 4 years old, and she's like, "No, no, no, this is too young to start." My mother's like, "Sit down and go and I'll play." And so like I was like and so the woman's like, "Okay, we'll start now." And that was basically it. And I always would bring her like my Barry Manilow songbook and my Billy Joel songbook, and like all the famous Elton John. I was obsessed with all those guys that played and sang and wrote, and she was like, "Nope, we're only doing classical." And I'm so
Mm.
appreciative of doing that. It really is the foundation for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I started taking lessons. I did want to. I went to go to college, and my parents talked me out of going to school to be an accountant. I mean, to be a musician, and I
To
went to
be an
school to be an
accountant.
accountant. And so
Yeah.
I literally, because they were like, "Oh, you love math, and you whatever, you're so good at it." And I listened to that, and I love my family. They're very supportive, and they're okay with me dropping out of college now. But
Sure.
I didn't do what I wanted to do, and
Hmm.
when I coach kids, or anybody, I say, you have to be. So first of all, I love when like kids come to me and you see like that passion they have for what they do, and their parent is bringing them here. I'm like, I love that so much. I appreciate that so much. Not that my parents, again, did not encourage my music and all that stuff, but they didn't want me to do it for a living. And I kind of understand if that were my kid. I don't know if I'd want him, especially the way today, the way it is today and the competition. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want my kid to go into showbiz, but I gave the accounting thing a try, and I couldn't do it, and I dropped out of school, and I moved to New York, and I had like no money, and I was like, I don't care, I'm going to do it. And it's like,
Right.
so that's why I tell kids will say, I don't know if I want to do like law school, or if I want to move to New York and audition for Broadway. I'm like, well, if you should go to law school then, because I want that kid to say to me, all I want to do is
This is
be
all
on
I need. Yeah.
Broadway and move to New York. And I go do that. You may have to get a little side job to pay you, but you got to do what you're passionate about. I mean, and what not everybody is that lucky. I'm so fortunate. I am so blessed. I know that I get to sit at a piano all day and make music. It's like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That's interesting that you said you were good at math. Do math and music coincide for you? Do you think of music mathematically, or is it just innate?
100% I do. I 100% I do. I think it really does. And the accounting did wasn't a failure. I mean, like my accountant loves me because I'm like so organized when I go to bring him all my stuff. But I think music and math totally go together. I understand how they go together. I guess it's all the same side of the brain. I don't know. But can I
Yeah.
draw a snowman? No.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
funny.
like I love it. I mean, I still love it, and I'm like, I can't believe I go to work every day and sit behind a piano and help people. And like, I watch people come into a session that like, oh my God, I just had the worst day at work. It's horrible, and people just feel good after it, and they leave feeling like they're walking on air. And I love that I can be a tiny part of that. It's pretty crazy.
Sure. Sure. What was the first big break? What was the first gig that you landed that you thought, this is my living. This is what I want to do?
Well, it's so funny. About 3 months after I moved to New York, I was with a friend of mine who's still to this day a friend. We are literally about to celebrate in October, knowing each other and working together for 40 years.
Nice.
I met this woman, Amy Ryder, who lived in New York, and we one night she had an upcoming show at this really famous piano bar called the Duplex in the Village. And so we went in to go do a song to say, "Hey, everybody, come up and see our show upstairs next Friday and Saturday night." And the owner came up to me and said, "Hey, our on the weekends the pianist would play from like 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. So they had like a break pianist on the weekend who like played a few hours, like a couple hours spread out." And so the owner comes up and says, the break pianist didn't show up. Do you want to play? Can you play for me till they come?" And so I was like, "Sure." I had no music. I just was like, I'll just fake something, whatever. My friend Amy passed around the tip jar. Now I had like no money to my name. She passed around a tip jar. In like 30 minutes. I made like $40 in tips. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. Now that was a really a big break for me, you know. Like I and then that was I was working as a temp before that, like at a like because I typed because of my
Mm,
fingers, I guess I typed like 95 words a minute.
yeah.
So I was working as a secretary. Like I said, you got to do what you're passionate about. You may have to have a little side job to pay the rent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
When did
that
it
was my
become
first my first break, and then years about 6 years later, I moved to L.A. for a job with this guy. He was you have to be of a certain age to know who he was, but he was a famous puppeteer named Waylon Flowers.
okay?
And he had an old lady puppet named Madam, and they like he was on TV a lot. He had his own sitcom, and he was in Hollywood Squares. He was always on Hollywood Squares. Anyway, I was working on a cruise ship. I was playing for one of my dearest friends. Again, still 40 years later, best friends. My friends, I was working with this woman who's a genius voice teacher today in New York, and she at the time was a performer, and we were opening for Waylon, and he came up to me after the show and he said, "I'm looking for a new conductor and a pianist and a conductor," and he said, "If you want to move from New York, I was getting so burned out from New York at that time, and he goes, if you want to move from New York, I will pay for you to move here." To move to LA and work for me. And I
Yeah.
did it. And I was like, I'm just going to stay for a little bit and see how it is. And that was January 1987.
Nice, nice.
Oh my God, you weren't even born yet.
I was born in 82.
Oh, I was so close.
You're so close. How did Idol come about?
Again, so, you know, this is something else I preach to people when I'm doing master classes and stuff. This business is so much. I think all of our businesses is who you know, who you meet,
Totally.
being at the right place at the right time, and having the goods when that door opens. Because
You have
you
to
and
be
I both
ready and
have
then get lucky.
that's it. You and
Yeah,
I both have so many talented friends. I have so many
yeah.
talented friends who didn't have an American Idol when they were starting
Right.
out, and they just didn't have that break. But they're as brilliant as or more brilliant as that as many people that won an Idol or whatever. But Idol came about because I was working when I moved here. Waylon Flowers had passed away in 1988, right? A year and a half after I was with him,
Hmm.
and I just had met a bunch of people, and I was working with a amazing singer named Sam Harris, and through Sam, I met the one and only one of my all-time idols, Barry Manilow.
Hmm.
And through anyway, and then I got a job like working for him, like as his rehearsal pianist, and he had this lead background singer. Her name was Deborah Bird, and every time they had to put a new background singer in, Deborah would call me in and say, come in and help me, like, you know, train this new singer that's going to be a background singer for Barry." I ended up doing all this stuff with him. American Idol started. I never heard of it. I never watched it. And Deborah Bird, who I had worked with Barry, was one of the vocal coaches on American Idol. And
Hmm.
she called me and she said, "This show is so up your alley. Can you come? Can you be here tomorrow? Burt Bacharach is coming in. The kids are singing Burt Bacharach songs, and I know you know every Burt Bacharach song." And I said, "Deborah, you're not going to believe this. I have to do something tomorrow, and I can't get out of it now this late.
Uh-huh.
But please," I said, I promise next time you call me, I'll drop everything." She's like, "Call me in 3 weeks. I will find someone for tomorrow, but this is your gig written all over it." And so there's another freaking lesson in the follow through, which I was never good at.
Yeah.
You know, it's so important. And so 3 weeks later, I I picked up the phone. I go, "You need me? I will be there. I will drop anything you want. I will
Yeah.
never do that again. I promise." And she said, "Be here tomorrow." It was the week of the finale with Kelly and Justin of season one,
Yeah.
and I came in to help for the week, and I stayed for 16 years. I mean, like it
Yeah.
was crazy.
I mean,
Again,
at that point, you didn't even know what the show would become, though.
no, I mean, when she first called me about it, my friend Amy Engelberg, who another one I'm friends with 40 years, it's so crazy, where my dog goes when I go out of town. Um, Amy and her sister are television writers, and Amy and Wendy were obsessed with American Idol when it first started. And so I happened to be talking to them, and I go, "This." My friend Deborah called me today about working on this show, American Idol. I don't even know what it is, and she's like, "Michael, call them back, call them back. You have to go do this right now." And so anyway, I called her back though. Again, the follow through is so important. But That was the greatest thing ever. I had the greatest time working on that show. I loved every minute of it. It was back before they had to, the show became a little bit when the Voice came out and tried to copycat it and whatever and
Hmm.
took a lot of its ratings away. They had to get more. It was more and more manipulated, like The Voice was, in that they would say to the kids, "You can't sing an old song this week. You can't do a nobody.
Mm,
Only one person can sing a ballad." Like we never did that in the first 8 or 9 years of Idol. They never did that because
right.
people just sang whatever they wanted, and young, old, it didn't matter. I mean, like a new song, an old song. Everybody loved watching that show. It was a big family thing, and we were working 16, 18-hour days and then going back the next day, and I couldn't wait to go back. I didn't care. I got home at 2 in the morning. I couldn't wait to be back at 8 a.m. the next day. It
Right,
was just
right.
the greatest atmosphere to be around. The ratings were through the roof. It was 30 million people watching it. Nobody ever was stressed. It was always just light and fun, and I'm so grateful for that.
That feels like a very rare Hollywood story, though,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I think
I
so.
mean,
I think
especially
so.
being there 16 seasons. I mean, it seems like most shows that would wear on you and you would leave angry. You know what I mean? Like that's
No,
the
I know.
usual
And
Hollywood
listen,
story.
I didn't leave angry. I understand my friend Dorian, my partner Dorian that I worked with, that we were there the longest, and I think they wanted to make some changes and
Sure.
have a little less salary and all that stuff. And it's all good. I have whatever. It was time for me to move on too, and that's when I started getting very busy with Kristen and like all, again, I just think there are no accidents. I always like, when
Hmm.
somebody, is up for a job or a part and they don't get it, I always say it feels crappy right now, but something is going to happen and something is going to reveal itself down the road, whether it's in a week or a year, whatever, you're going to go, oh, this is why that happened. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I've lived my life like that. And I just was like, it's time to move on. It's time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Throughout those seasons, what is first of all, take us behind the scenes a little bit of the show.
yeah.
What happens in a week? What is the weekly process of how you get from the end of one show to the beginning of the next show the next
Yeah,
week?
so it's so crazy what goes on there, and I know it. I'm sure it still happens like this. The thing is that like what most people don't understand are a lot of these kids. Well, in the old days, most of these kids never had much experience performing, so we would watch them. And my all the people I worked with, Deborah Bird and this guy Dorian Hawley, who's brilliant, and my friend Pisha McPhee, who's Catherine McPhee's mom. She worked on the show for a few years as my partner, and all these different people. We never had time to give a voice lesson. The thing I was most proud of is that we used to give these kids just as much confidence as we could, and to
Mm,
watch them gain confidence every week, and maybe a little performing skill here or there, or don't close your eyes when you're singing to the camera, or when the camera works around you, like how to play
right,
to it,
right.
all those tricks. But the funny thing about American Idol is that for a music show, the kids spend probably the least amount of time on music than they do with everything. Between shopping for their
Hmm.
outfit, between hair and makeup, between meeting with their
Yeah,
agent, between going to the
yeah.
studio to record their iTunes songs. Like we used to get the kids basically like in the old days they got eliminated on Wednesday, so Thursday was music picking day, where everybody got. And this was I loved that the show was it was all about fairness issues, and I'm sure it still has to be because it's a contest. But
Hmm.
like we got an hour with each kid to help them pick their song, and if somebody got an hour and a half because they were freaking out and they took longer, everybody had to have the option if they wanted to come back for another half hour, they could.
Right.
It was always a fairness thing, which we always were. I mean, beyond fair. At some point, I think it was pretty close to the beginning, our bosses, now the first bunch of years in the huge, big success of Idol, it was run by these two brilliant men, Nigel Lithgow and Ken Warwick. And the show was brilliant because of these two guys.
Right.
And what's crazy about it is that again, they just knew how to make good TV. They knew how to mess with the contestants' minds on results day, that they would make them think they were going home. And by the way
Mm.
they released the results, they were like, oh my God, the kids would like freak
Right, right,
out.
right, right.
But anyway, but basically Thursday was music picking day, and by the end of the day, the producers would hear all the music, and they say, great, everyone happy with this song, great, great. So the next day they'd get a half hour with each of us. I mean, each kid would get a half hour, and we would just review their cut, make sure they were happy, make them a track to rehearse to. And then, because we also had to turn the stuff over to the band, and for most of the time was Ricky Minor, and he
Hmm.
would then start generating all his stuff that he had to do,
Right,
because it was literally that fast of a turnaround where,
right.
a 15-piece band was gonna play these songs out. Now, first 3 seasons it was all pre-recorded, so on top of all that, we had to go to the recording studio and record all those kids and
Right.
record all those tracks, which was so time consuming. On season 4, they brought in Ricky Minor and the band. That was Carrie Underwood's season. That was the first year of that. And it made life so much easier and so much better for the kids. I mean, I talk
Yeah.
to the kids every week, and I go, the ones from the first 3 seasons can't believe they were singing to, like, not a karaoke track, because they were better than that, but
Yeah.
it leaves you no room for spontaneity or
Right, right.
whatever, or holding a longer note or whatever. So Thursday was music picking day. Friday was a review. I think Saturday they were like off filming their, Ford commercial, so we were off on Saturday. And then by Monday we'd have a band rehearsal only, where all the kids got to hear what the song sounded like with the full band. And on Tuesday we did a quick dress rehearsal where everyone sang their songs. Plus, it was a camera blocking thing, and so they did it for the camera. And the director, our brilliant director Bruce Gowers, would say, do that again, or that's good, that's enough. Again, it would be like it was a fairness thing where there were executives from Fox always sitting there going, this kid got to run their song a couple more times. Now everyone has to be able to do that,
Right,
And they
right.
were so
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Mm.
And that was basically it. So these kids, they learned a song on Thursday, and Tuesday they performed it in front of 30 million people, plus 3 judges.
Right.
Now, let's talk about the judges, because first of all, I love the judges. I've loved them all. And
Yeah, before I have a question though, because
yeah,
you brought up the band.
yeah,
There is there a it's an interesting dynamic, I think. And I think this is an interesting dynamic with the music industry in general, right? So even if you take a superstar like Taylor Swift, right?
yep,
She is a megastar, incredibly talented,
yep.
but anytime she's on stage, she's the worst singer, the worst musician, and the worst dancer, right?
Do I have to agree?
I think you do, right?
She's my friend. I'm kidding. Yeah, listen,
She's
I
insanely talented, but but what's going on behind her is in like the top and top
no,
of the game.
I
And
understand
isn't
that.
that kind of what Idol has also? You have these kids who are trying to make it, but the guys in the shadow playing the drums is an insanely
Okay,
incredible
well,
drummer who's already made
Eddie
it. You know what I
Campbell, I get it. No, I do understand that, but you know what's so funny about Idol is that the difference between Idol and The Voice and the America's Got Talent, all those shows, American Idol always had Simon Fuller, who is another genius, who was the head of 19 Entertainment, and then now he's the head of his own company, XIX. He is a brilliant, 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 amazing man. He had this management company in line who said, we want to take these kids off of a television series and make them
Mm.
have a big huge career afterwards. And that's why I don't really know anybody. I have friends. One of my dear friends, Allison Porter, won The Voice 4 or 5 years ago, and she's one of the most brilliant singers I know, but she's not a big huge star. And it's insane because
It
The
is the
Voice only
difference
cares
between all
about,
the shows.
yes. And
Yeah.
I love that Idol was always about, we want to take these kids now and see who we can market and put them out there. I mean, and there were people that didn't win, like Jennifer Hudson and
Yeah.
like Chris Daughtry and like Catherine McPhee, who didn't come in first, and Adam Lambert, and it didn't matter, and Constantine Maroulis, who has a Tony nomination because he was in a Broadway show. all because of that exposure on that television show. That's because of the way they did, they took care of their
Totally.
the contestants.
I mean, if you took out a
However,
couple, if you took out Carrie Underwood, if you took
yeah,
out Kelly Clarkson,
yeah,
you could almost make a case that the people who haven't won have had more success than the people who have won.
yeah, maybe. I think it doesn't really. You know what? I have to tell you, I used to get devastated when my kids, I would call them my kids, would get voted off. I was like, I
Yeah.
would be twirling in the curtains on the side, going, "How could that be? I don't get it."
Yeah.
And when Jennifer Hudson got voted off, I think I cried real tears. I was like,
Mm.
"What is wrong with this country?" And but you know what I mean, like because people were so into it. Like we again, 30 million people now they get five if they're lucky. I mean the
Yeah.
ratings have
Yeah.
just tanked in the last few seasons because also people want to watch. People don't want to wait a week for a results of anything. They want to binge watch and all that
Mm.
stuff. But like still, you go back and watch some of those performances of Carrie, Kelly, Adam, any of them, even Chris Allen, that one, like any of those kids, like they're incredible, and they like part of what we would do with them is like going, we don't want to make this a karaoke show. We want you guys to bring your own thing to them, and like that's what I try to work with all my students. I'm like, we already have Adele singing, when we were young. If you're gonna sing when we were young, you need to make it your way, or you need to take like
Yeah.
when Adam Lambert was doing. I keep saying Adam because he was so into changing his songs up. And when we
Yeah.
did Disco Week, and he's saying, "If I Can't Have You," like that upbeat,
Yeah.
disco, and we made it into like a heart wrenching ballad. He was like, and it was, and Simon was, everyone was blown away.
Yeah.
But this is what like. All right. So anyway, but did I answer your question? Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
That's
really.
fine.
I forgot. We're
He's
talking about so much. Taylor Swift. I am a huge, huge fan, and I love her songs. And yes, she live. It's not the same as on records, and it just a lot of people can't. But this is what I'm telling you about American Idol. There is not one singer that has come off of that show that has a big, huge career today that lip syncs. They all sing
right.
live. They're all amazing. There's no faking. There's no auto tuning.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that some of the other shows do all that. Now, I
Right.
still don't think they've gotten the sound right. Like we used to go, I couldn't wait to run home and watch the show live when it was on TV. Like we filmed it here in LA at 5 o'clock, and I'd be home by 7:30, and we'd watch it live on TV again. And it never the sound never translated to like when you were
Yeah.
in the theater in the on the set. It sounded like you were at a rock show, and the sound was the most brilliant thing ever. It just never really
Mm.
carried over. Like I can't even watch any of those shows today. Like the sound is just not
Right.
good. But I don't know. It's interesting. Like there's not one fake vocal on American Idol.
Right. Right.
I can
E-
say that
One of
knowing.
my favorite shows is Top Chef. I love cooking shows,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
if you watch Top Chef season 1, you kind of go, I think I could compete with Top Chef season 1. They were not good. And now Top Chef now it's gotten more and more notoriety. And
Of
so
course.
now you have, John George's sous chef is on it competing. Did
Oh
you
my
find that
God.
with Idol? It's kind of started as we're finding the hidden talent. Were the contestants more polished and kind of more, I mean, you brought up Adam, dude had done Broadway before American Idol.
Yeah, no, he had done the national tour of Wicked, and I had seen him doing something else. But I think it was like you think like also they used to show all those bad auditions,
Yeah.
and like season one, I go, all right, I kind of feel bad for them because nobody knew what they were getting into. But
Yeah.
once you've seen that show, especially season 1 and 2, you come back and you're a bad audition. I don't feel bad for you. You know what you're getting into. You want to get ridiculed by Simon Cowell, even though he's the nicest guy in the world, but he's doing it for good TV.
Yeah.
Then you know what you're getting into. There's no, you know what I mean. Season 1, they had no idea what they were getting into, and but Simon Cowell was brilliant, and his chemistry that he had with Paula and Randy was like unlike any other set of judges they've had. And I love the judges now are fine, whatever. They're not really allowed to judge anymore because they're afraid if they're honest and say what they think, someone they love is going to get voted off because of the
Mm.
way it happens now.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the beginning, Simon Cowell would maybe say stuff to make Paula and Randy look like they didn't know what they were talking about or whatever. But Paula Abdul, I will go on record. Not only is she the nicest, most loving, honest, incredible, supportive judge. She's my favorite, and I still love her, and I'm still friends with her today. And I just went to see her 2 New Year's Eves ago in Vegas, and she was had a residency there, and it was like the most incredible show ever. She's like my age, like maybe a
Yeah.
year younger. She dances like any 25-year-old could. It was just mind blowing. Anyway, but we used to try to say to the kids after they perform, they're like, well, like, you guys are under a microscope for your minute and 40 seconds that you're doing this song. And we used to tell the kids, after you sing, now the judges are being watched and judged by everybody watching that show. And they are trying to come up with something smart and trying to come up with something clever and something that's funny that you're going to remember and you're going to talk about.
Hmm.
And so, but the kids didn't understand it. If Simon Cowell or Randy Jackson said, come on, dog, that was pitchy, like if it affected them. But they would contradict themselves each week. The judges, like Simon Cowell, Randy Jackson, my favorite, would like some girl would sing like a song, and he goes, you didn't have to change that up so much. It's such a beautiful melody. And then the next week she'd sing a
Right.
Beatles song and do it straight, and then he goes, it
You
was
got to
kind of
make it your
karaoke.
own.
Yeah. And it's just like you couldn't win. And we're like, don't try to win, just do you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, but we couldn't tell them that. They didn't hear it. I mean, we would tell them, it just they didn't hear it. And
Right.
and also the show was so huge. They had their friends calling, their parents calling, their boyfriend, girlfriend calling, going, no, don't sing that song. Why are you singing that song? So they
Mm,
would literally, or they were young, like David Archuleta, and had their dad
yeah.
there, or Jordan Sparks, and and that it was they were getting it from everywhere. But I will
Right.
tell you this, and I will say this to anybody who wants to be in this business: every kid that has an amazing work ethic are ones that you still know their name today.
Mm,
Nobody, because that to me is like the downfall of these shows are people have this false sense that they can just make it overnight and get famous from doing
right.
nothing. And if you don't put the work in, it doesn't last. I'm sorry. And that's
Right.
why somebody like Kimberly Locke from season 2, who came in third place, still works and still, she's got a talk show she's working on. She's because that work ethic is like no other. And it's like
Right.
that's why all those kids, I don't care if you came in sixth from the end like Jennifer Hudson. I mean, like, doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, I certainly don't want to bash on the show at all, but do you think it created a generation of kids who thought making it in the music industry meant winning American Idol?
I think for a while there, yes. I think for a while there, and then I think it went the opposite. And I think then, because a lot of kids on Idol had the problem of getting rid of that, oh, you're from Idol thing.
Mm,
And I think it's like maybe it's like a nice mix now. I always say people come to me all the time to get coached for going on those reality shows, including Idol, and I say you should go for it today with the importance of social media and everything. If you get on a
hmm.
week or two and you gain 5,000 new followers, it's worth every minute you go through.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it is. I think the show doesn't, the early days, kids would put out an album and it'd go triple plat. Clay Aiken's album went triple platinum, like, immediately.
Yeah.
Maddie Poppy, who won the first year on ABC, who is to me just such an amazing artist and so different. And I don't think anyone pegged her to win. And she's such a great artist. She didn't have as much luck with her album, but she's so talented and she's still at it because she's not going to give up. And that's what it takes. But I think it definitely caused. I don't know if it was only Idol. It was the Kardashians and all that. People just wanted to get famous for doing nothing.
Sure, sure. No, for sure. I mean, the birth of the reality show in general probably created a lot of
Absolutely,
that. I
absolutely,
would imagine a lot of these kids came to you with no training. They didn't know the right way to breathe. They didn't know any kind of
absolutely.
performing thing. Who would you point to as a or a couple contestants who improved the most? That when they made that first round, you're like, this person has no chance, and they went a lot farther than you thought they were going to.
Oh boy, I'm trying to think. Like I loved all these contestants so much that it was so hard for me. Um, I'm trying to think of somebody like that. Oh my God. Like I thought I saw potential in everybody every single week, and then like
Yeah.
just to watch them grow. I'm trying to think of who. Again, I was surprised by the way sometimes people voted, or I was surprised by
Mm,
who got in the bottom three, and I'm like, I don't get that. Is that because of
yeah.
what one of the judges said? Um, I mean, there was a girl the year that Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey were judges on that show,
Hmm.
and this girl Candace Glover won. I mean, she is the most unbelievable, beautiful girl with this most amazing voice, and she does work all the time, but it's like she should have been huge. I mean, she was like a victim of that season, because
Yeah.
people were like, what's happening here, and why are we watching Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey not talk to each other? It was a disaster. And then
Yeah.
then came along Jennifer Lopez, and all was well again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw her show in Vegas too. Oh my God, that was insane. That was insane.
Vegas doesn't put up bad shows like that.
I'm
Brittany, I
telling
mean,
you.
all those shows are incredible.
Oh, I know, and I'm so excited now because Kelly Clarkson is going to have a residency in Vegas. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Incredible.
amazing. But yeah, I don't know of anybody that I thought we definitely saw improvement every week, which is so exciting. And you saw people again. I would see people just grow confidence, and of course, you had that occasional person that forgot their lyrics and freaked out, and
Hmm.
like a girl I'm doing on my Instagram live show, Brooke White, who she literally just stopped playing in the middle of her song. She's like, "Can I start
Mm.
over again?" And I was like, "That was the best that you just did that." Instead of like, she's literally was like, she stopped. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, for Idol fans, that's like one of the biggest, funniest moments in history. Like when people did that, and
Mm.
I can't think of anyone specific. I'm sorry. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's all
I
good.
love all, when people go, "Oh, who's your favorite contestant?" I'm like, these were all my babies, and
Your babies.
I love
Yeah.
every one of them, and I still am close to so many of them, and still work with so many of them, and so.
Yeah.
It's just hard. I was devastated when Pia Toscano I think she was season 10, when she got voted off. I was like, okay, this is insane. And not
Mm.
because I put her into the contest, because she happened to come to my table when she auditioned, and on the first rounds, and I put her through. I was just like, that voice is insane. And now it's even more insane than it ever was. And she travels a lot with, she performs with Andrea Bocelli, and she travels a lot as David Foster, one of David Foster's singers, and she's amazing. And I could not believe. And they said to her, the judges kept saying to her, "Stop! Why are you doing ballads every week?" So she went and did an up tempo. She was like, and she got voted off.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was like insane. And I was like, what happened? The judges were like, don't sing any more ballads. And she sang an up tempo, and she was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I mean, the show is so great for all those people who use it for what it is. Again, like, I think at some point for some of those people in certain seasons, they got, Idol was like not a good thing to say I was
Mm.
from American Idol. But I have all the time where I'll have people, I've even had people say to me, Carrie Underwood was on Idol? I don't remember. I didn't know
Mm.
that. Or like,
Yeah.
young kids, or they go, I didn't know Catherine McPhee was on American Idol.
Right. Right.
Like they've like outlived it and outgrown it, and people that saw her on Broadway, they didn't even, a brand new audience seeing her in that musical Waitress, like they didn't remember her from
Right. Right. Right.
American Idol. So it's kind of cool in that way.
So, in terms of career and dreams and what you still want to accomplish, what is left in the tank for you? What do you still want to accomplish moving forward?
That's such a great question. I'll tell you, I've been writing a lot with a really good dear friend of mine. Her name is Stacy Gruber, and she lives in Boston. And her partner, Patricia Cornwell, is like the number one female crime writer in the world. And
Mm.
we've written a lot of songs for some of her projects that have like been sold or whatever. And it would be nothing more fun. I've had a bunch of songs put out, out there and on people's, albums and stuff. And I work with this incredible woman, Rosalind Kind, who's a great singer, and she and I co-wrote this song with our friend Judy, and it was on an episode of The Nanny, which we still get money for, like all these years later. It was like in the '90s, and
That show plays a lot at my house still. My wife
is
loves
it?
it. I love.
Oh my
It's a
God.
great show.
I'll have to send you the link for my episode that we did.
Yeah,
You've probably seen it. It's like where
probably.
Barbara Streisand's sister is singing, and the nanny hears her, and she's like, "Oh my God, is that Barbara? Is that Barbara?" But it's
Yeah.
Rosalind. And the song she sang was a song that we wrote. But The songwriting thing keeps me going and wanting more
Mm,
always. And I always tell that to people too. I'm like, as soon as I mean, like, I'm sorry I'm dropping names again, but Kristen Chenoweth is one of my favorite people in the world.
yeah.
And I love and adore her, and I work with her, and I see it's like somebody like that. And actually, my friend Patricia, who's an author, they keep thinking outside the box and going, "What now? What can I do?" I think when somebody is done, or when somebody goes, I've done it all. Like what?
Mhm.
I think there's nothing left to like want and stuff. And
Yeah.
I listen. I want to keep meeting amazing, great people to work with, and I love playing the piano. It's literally I live and breathe it, and I there's nothing better. But I would love to get more songs out there, and that is definitely a goal. And when I achieve that, not if, when, then I'll have to let you know what else I want,
Perfect.
because there's
Perfect.
gonna be some more. There's gonna be some more stuff.
So a big part of this podcast for me is my faith religion journey.
Hmm.
When I say stuff like that, faith, spirituality, religion, just kind of open ended. What does that look like in your life? What did it look like growing up? What does it look like now? How do you get through life on this crazy little world that we live in?
I think that so many. I definitely would call myself spiritual, and I believe in God. I grew up Jewish.
Mhm.
My family wasn't the most practicing Jews, although and though I am a proud Jew, I definitely believe in God, and I think that my faith and spirituality in life in general is what gets me through. It's all about gratitude for me, and I think
Mm,
that is that's like so important. And I just, even more than like, I don't need to go to temple to meditate or to think about all the stuff, you know what I mean, like all that stuff I can just access on my own. And
yeah.
like, from working with, how when you work with people like Barbara Deutsch, it's like you can learn to access all that stuff on your own. I definitely, again, I feel like I'm such a spiritual person. I think I have so far to go, but I think that's gotten me through a lot of stuff, and having that helps you get through everything. Not just, I mean, we live in a world that it's all about rejection. We face rejection
Mm,
every day in our work, and especially in our work. And I think that that's helped me so much with it. And again, I don't go to temple or church. I played piano in temple and church, and organ at a church when I was growing up. And I don't feel like I have to go there in order to have that. But I think it's the best. I think for people to have whatever they have that for them works. I think it's just all about love for everybody and all that stuff. And
yeah. No, I mean, I love that description of it. I think sometimes one of the problems with organized religion is it says, hey, if you want peace and love and joy and hope, it's only found in this tiny little box of our religion right here.
correct.
And that's clearly, if you just spend time talking to anybody outside of the walls of your own little religion,
Hmm.
that's clearly not true.
Right.
And for me, I grew up in a Christian home. I went to Christian college. I went to Catholic high school,
Yep.
kind of enclosed in the box. And honestly, my journey of discovering that was through Broadway,
Oh,
because
that's amazing.
I would go to these, and I was a sports guy my whole life, and then you mentioned Kristen Chenoweth a lot. Wicked was my musical moment.
Oh
I
my God,
was
that's the
It
best.
wasn't Kristen, it was Eden Espinosa at the
Who's
Pantages.
amazing.
Yeah, I just went on a whim with my parents, and I sat there and went, "There's there's a part of me that has been missing my whole life. Like, I've been sports guy this whole time.
Yep.
This is the missing part of me that I've been searching for."
Oh my
And so
God.
I literally, Pantages, Amundsen, any theater I could get my hands on, I took a deep dive, and I started going, there are profound truths in these musicals. I
Yeah,
mean, Pippin is a church service. I mean, it is
totally.
so profound. And yes. I cannot tell you how many times in my life I've been like freaking out about my life or my job or my career, and I've just closed my eyes and listened to that song so many times.
Oh my God.
And
That,
I started going, wait a second, these, you know, they're not Christians writing these. You
that's
know, there's atheists, there's Jewish people, there's all
everybody.
these different,
Yes.
and they're coming to the same truths that I believe in. What is happening? And it was like this massive, huge breakthrough in my life that I
Wow.
discovered that, and my love for Broadway, which has
I
not
love that
wavered.
so much. I love that so much. So that's incredible though. I was never into the sports thing, but I was into the music thing. I mean, like I was so into Broadway, but nobody would let me, be into it till I got older, and then that's all I did.
Yeah, was Broadway ever a path that you wanted to do?
Not really. Like I mean, I do a lot of musical theater out. I do a lot of theater out here in LA, and we used to do this. Oh my God, you have to come to it. We wait. You live in LA, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we do a thing. Well, we didn't do it last year, of course. It's called. There's a form of theater called the pantomime, and they do every year in the UK. It was a big uh, thing they would do every year called the British Panto, and we start. My friend, my old boss Nigel Lithgow, his son Chris Lithgow, and his wife Becky. They started doing the panto out here, and it would be. It basically was you told a traditional story, like we would do Cinderella, but it was not, or we do Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but it was not like the Disney. It was just the traditional story,
Mm-hmm.
but you use today's music
Mm.
to further the story along without changing any lyrics,
Oh
and
wow.
a lot of times, like this in Cinderella, the stepsisters were played by guys in drag,
Right.
but and there was always like Ariana Grande did our Snow White, and I mean, right
Mm.
before she did it huge, and we've had so many people, Sabrina Carpenter, and I mean, like the biggest people have done
Yeah.
those shows, and they're amazing. It's like with full sets, full costumes, like big. I mean, we did Peter Pan, and they flew. I mean, it was like insane, insane. So
Nice.
I'm gonna make sure you come to that if we hopefully
Absolutely.
go back next year. It's I can't wait for it every year. It's just like so moving, but I never had the New York thing. I don't know. I just I liked being out here, and I'm happy I live out here. All my family's on the East Coast, and I hate being so far away, and I
Mm.
hate having it be a special occasion to get back home. But I'm close to everybody, and we talk all the time. But I haven't seen my family in a long time, except on
Yeah.
Zoom.
Uh, well, we got to wrap this up because we want to
So
get you
I'll
out of
start
here.
by.
But I want to make sure people know. First of all, thank you for doing this
Oh
again.
my God, I'm so happy
Very
to do
honored
it.
that you would come on and take the time. But you got a
That
cool
would
thing
make me.
going on,
I may have to call my friend Eden Espinoza and get her to come talk to you.
dude. It like literally, I can. It's one of those things that's just ingrained in my brain. Her hovering over at the end of Act One, and me thinking in that moment, my life is different, literally different
Oh
now
my God, that's amazing. I really
because
think I
of
need to
this.
tell her, and I think you need to talk to her.
I would, I would die. That would
Okay.
be amazing.
Okay.
You have a cool thing going on Instagram that I want people to know with past contestants.
Yeah. So what's so funny? My buddy Caesar that I met him through when I was doing a show with Catherine McPhee in New York. We were playing at oh my God, I can't think of the name of the fancy hotel, and we had the best time. And she was using this guy to do all her social media stuff, and he started helping me because he's brilliant, and he like grew her social media so huge, and he hit me up when this pandemic happened. He goes, listen, even if you're not teaching a lot right now, you have to stay active on your social media. And I was like, help me. So he's like,
Mm.
let's do this thing. We do this like vocal tips every Tuesday, like we're tips for Tuesday. And then Thursday, I started doing this show called Live with Michael. And I literally been doing it for so long. I've interviewed so many of them. And I bring back like a past idol every Thursday. It's live at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And I love it so much, and I get to
Yeah.
reunite with these people, and it's a little bit of reminiscing. It's a little bit talking about behind the scenes, like what people
Mhm.
didn't know about what they were going through, and a
Right.
little bit of what they're up to now, and it's just so fun. I've always
It's
wanted to
so
do a
good.
show like that. So
Yeah, it's so good. And that's how I discovered you. and then later found out that Barbara knew you,
Oh,
and
for crying out
I was
loud.
like, oh, you got to introduce me because I got to have him
Oh,
on.
because then I was like,
Yes. Perfect. Well, man, thank you so much for doing this. I
thank you so
appreciate you
much. It
coming
was
on,
so
man.
great to meet you. And we'll do it again sometime. I'm going to get you your next guest.
I would be thrilled.
All right.